Woodstock was an important moment in pop culture, music, and the hippie movement. The organizers of the event originally planned it as a way to raise money so they could build a recording studio in New York. They sold tickets in advance, but decided to let people in for free when normally 500,000 people showed up at Max Yasker's dairy farm in Bethel, New York, over the course of 3 days in August during the Summer of Love in 1969. The people in attendance were hammered by a massive rainstorm that turned the dairy farm into a muddy mess. The traffic leading to the event was so bad that some concertgoers just abandoned their cars on the road and walked into the venue. But those who braved the weather, the traffic, and the drugs saw performances by Richie Havens, Joe Cocker, Janis, The Who, CCR, The Grateful Dead, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, Santana, and more. Oh, and a guy named Jimi Hendrix closed out the show with a performance of the Star Spangled Banner that became a symbol of the anti-war movement. In this episode of Prisoners of Rock and Roll, we're taking you to Bethel, New York for 3 days of peace and music. We're going to talk about the story behind the event, when the town did everything they could to stop it from happening. We'll look at the impact it had on music, play some of the awesome songs, and provide our insight along the way. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Prisoners of Rock and Roll, episode number 46. My name is Bruce Kramer, and I'm thrilled to be behind the mic tonight with my good friend and my co-host, Ryan McCusker.
Are you rocking?
Prisoners of Rock and Roll is part of the Pantheon Podcast Network, and we're sponsored by McCusker's Tavern at 17th and Shunk Streets in Philadelphia, as well as Boldfoot Socks.
We are.
What is going on, brother?
Nothing much.
Man.
Not a whole lot. Enjoying the summer. You know, trying to get some rays and maybe see some baseball games, some concerts.
Yeah, man.
Having a good time.
Summer's kind of winding down. Been busy, man. It looked like you had a busy couple weeks, man. I see a lot of concerts last couple weeks.
A lot of shows. I caught Fish, like 4 shows in like 3 weeks. That was pretty hot. They played right on the beach in Atlantic City. I'd say about 45,000 people a night.
That's fantastic, man. That's great. You've gone to more shows this summer than I have.
I just follow Fish, and wherever they go, I'm gonna go. They're like 100 miles away.
That's fantastic.
They're still on tour now. My buddies are going out to Colorado to check them out.
Awesome, man. Dude, that's really, really cool. Yeah, dude, the summer is just, we talked about this last episode, man. I am constantly on the go. In this summer, I feel like
you're everywhere. Every time I turn around, you're going camping or doing something with the scouts.
Yeah, man. Summer camp, and I was in Tennessee. We got my family and I, we got another camper last week. Our previous one, I mentioned before, we were in a car accident, 4th of July weekend. A guy totaled our camper. We got a new one. So,
thank God you weren't hurt.
Thank you. But the more important thing, man, is that, again, we pulled out the really long list of topics, and you're like, dude, this is the anniversary week of Woodstock. So what?
Woodstock, the summer of love, and hippie shit.
Yeah, man. So we did a whole episode on the Monterey Pop Festival, which was before Woodstock, and I thought it was a great episode because I learned a lot. And every episode we do is great. But then you were like, dude, this is the 53rd anniversary of Woodstock. Let's talk about it.
Sure. I mean, I've seen it, the movie, a billion times. I listened to the soundtrack probably even more than that. You grow up with the posters on your wall of Hendrix playing, or you hear the funny thing of like, don't eat the brown acid.
Right.
All through it, That's not that it's funny. It's just, all these years later, you can go, don't eat the brown acid, and everybody knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, man, it's really one of the most. I mean, it's the cornerstone of the hippie movement, right? And it's like, I mean, some people will be like, when are the boomers going to die so they stop talking about fucking Woodstock? But
they'll never stop. They'll never stop talking about the original Woodstock ever. It was just, for the times, it was amazing to be able to bring all those people together and just out of peace at a time of so much violence going on in the world.
Yeah, man.
Violence going on in the country.
Yeah, and it's I don't know, maybe we just dive in and start talking about, like what the hell are we going to say that hasn't already been said a zillion times? It's like, we both have our own opinions on it. We'll try to spin it however as much as we can, but it was like, yeah, dude, you've got, think about all the shit going on in the world, right? It's like you're a couple years after the Kennedy assassination, Vietnam is going on, Martin Luther King, Robert, we talked about all that shit in the American Pie episode and all these other things. This is really like the peak of the hippie movement. But this is also kind of like it all goes downhill right after this, too.
I think with this and the Altamont concert, I think this was the end of the 60s.
Yeah. And as I was doing my research for this, I was listening to a lot of podcasts about Woodstock and Woodstock 99. And they were like, Altamont killed the 60s and Woodstock 99 killed the 90s.
It did.
It was just like a really interesting, maybe we'll touch on Woodstock 99 a little bit. But it was like, yeah, man, the cultural significance of Woodstock, right? Because you had 500,000 fucking people showed up at that thing.
How do you prepare for that? For the city or the little town to be able to give all these kids, to feed them and give them a place to stay or whatever. It really took over the town.
So the two guys that wanted to put it on wanted to do it like, we'll throw this festival, right? And music festivals were not, it's not a thing. It's not like
no.
Yeah, it's not like the guys making the Horde Festival decided that, Lollapalooza is going on, let's do our own thing, right? It was such a new thing. There were no like outdoor concerts weren't a big thing yet. Those stadium tours weren't a big thing yet. And these guys were like, well, we'll put on a festival, we'll raise some money. And they wanted to make a recording studio up near Woodstock. And that was kind of where, like, that's kind of near where Dylan was recovering from his motorcycle accident, right? The real artsy community.
Absolutely. You had Dylan there. You had the band living there.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of different music going on.
Yeah. And these guys, like the town, man, like, they were passing every ordinance they could to try to stop it from coming in, like in the town of Wood. They were like, if a guy has his shirt off, it's a fine. You can't have open alcohol. You can't, like, they were just coming up with any rules they can to stop this thing.
Well, let's start at the beginning. Woodstock was an idea by these two guys, and they go to the town Woodstock first.
Right.
And they sell tickets and everything, and they're like, whoa, this is going to be way too big for us. So what they did was they went to one town over called Bethel, and they found Max's farm. So Woodstock actually happened in Bethel, New York, not at Woodstock.
Yeah, the one dude was like, yeah, man, you can use my farm. It's weird because he's an older guy when this happens, and he's like, okay, cool.
I think Max had his own opinion about the war and everything like that. And I just really think he seen them all as just kids. He even says, I have kids older than you guys, and what how everybody came together. Yeah. It was a special time, and it was a special moment in time that will probably never happen again.
Yeah. There's a
People
point.
had tried.
There's a point in the show where he gets up on stage and addresses everybody. He's like, I'm not much of a speaker. I'm a farmer.
Yeah.
But and he says, like, my kids are older than you, but you guys have really behaved yourselves or something. It was really interesting, man, because, and a big part of the notes, of course, is the movie, right? And much like Monterey, somebody was there and filmed it. And that's probably part of the reason why it's so important, because you get to see it, what happened.
Yeah, you get to see the legend.
Sure.
You get to see it all. Like you didn't have to go to Woodstock. You just watch the movie if you missed it. I don't know how long after Woodstock the movie came out. Do you think it was like a couple years?
1970. It came out March of 1970, so it's a couple months. It's not not even 6 months after it happened.
Woodstock was a financial mess. It really went down the shitter fast during the show was going.
Yeah.
Why
don't we talk about that a little bit? So,
yeah,
right. So they sold all those tickets. I think they sold them through like record stores and stuff like that in New York, and they sold more than they thought. And then I guess like the Friday night, so many people start showing up that the contractors since they moved the venue so late from Woodstock to Bethel, the contractors were like, all right, man, look, we can either build a stage or we can build a fence to keep everybody out. We don't have the time to do both. So they were like, build the stage. And then at some point, I guess just so many people showed up. There was no ticket booths, there was no fence, and they were just like, we just have to open the gate and let everybody in.
Yeah. So many people showed up without tickets, and they're like, "Oh, we're going where it's happening." I would say like half of the maybe not half, like 25% of the crowd got in for free. You know, like you said, there was no fence or nothing like that, but nobody knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, I saw everything from like they sold 50,000 tickets and 400,000 people showed up, and then I saw they sold 168,000 tickets and 500,000 people showed up. So it sounded like it might even been more than a quarter. It might have been like half the people.
Crazy.
But man, and at some point they were like, if from a safety perspective, it's not worth even trying to keep you. What are you going to do? You're going to have the National Guard come out and you're going to create like they just said, just come on in.
While it was going on, they were on the news and everything. They were calling it a disaster area.
They did, like the governor declared it, and they said the governor was he was thinking about deploying the National Guard to restore order. I was like, man, that shit would have went south really fast, right?
That would have went south. All those kids just sitting in the field, and then you have all the stormtroopers come in,
right? Especially,
for no reason.
I mean, you're at the peak of the war movement and all that other shit. You know, Kent State's already happened. You've got all that other the Democratic convention in Chicago and all that shit happened. You know, all that stuff we talked about in the American Pie episode has happened.
But then all that shit's happened. But look what they did after all that. Proved that the right wingers were the ones that are all starting trouble.
Yeah, man, and that's maybe
they're the ones that are sending the cops out there. They're the ones that are sending the thing, like the National Guard out. They're the ones that are doing it. They're the ones creating chaos, and these kids are just marching and whatever.
Yeah, man, it's like all these people showed up, and you know what? And the thing that just blows my mind is like 500,000 people showed up at this thing, and what they had like 2 people died, right? Like one dude got run over by a tractor in some like freak accident.
Yeah, he was like sleeping in the field.
Yeah,
and they didn't see him. They ran him over.
Yeah, and then, there was like one person overdose, but you had 500,000 people, right? If you said today, oh, this concert was supposed to hold 60,000 people, 500,000 showed up. They basically just stormed the gates. They let everybody in, and at the end of the day, nobody got hurt. You'd be like, what? Really?
Yeah,
it's like inconceivable.
Yeah, different day, different time, different way of thinking. Everything of this thinking like a hippie is like new,
right?
Nobody. I guess I could see how everybody thought the hippies were communist. I could see that. It was very communal. Everything was communal through the hippies, and it scared the shit out of everybody. And that's what Woodstock was. It was a communal society. Everybody was sharing everything. They were sharing the music at the end of the day. Everybody was sharing love. It was something I don't think will ever happen again.
Yeah, man.
Without like Coachella or some shit like that.
It's a great point, man, because you hear whatever that, it was like that one fucking music festival that they were supposed to have, and
they all got ripped off.
Yeah, it was like we should do something on that too. It's like
that'd be funny as shit.
But then compare that to this, where they were like, there was no water. Like there's a scene in the movie where they're throwing like clothes out of a helicopter to the people. Yeah. Like here, man, here's just some
changed.
Yeah,
here's
just
some clean clothes.
Right. And one girl was like, she's freaking out because she's like, there's too many people, I got to go, and I don't have any money to eat. And they're like, it's okay. Like, the group will provide for you.
Yeah.
Just a really interesting thing. Yeah.
I go to a lot of Grateful Dead shows, a lot of Fish shows, and that's kind of feel you get from it. It's like a little Woodstock. Everything, not everything's like communal by no means, but like you're walking around and it's fucking 100 degrees. Somebody's going to offer you a water.
I mean, in my experience, I have more concert stories about people being shitbags. And, like funny stories. Oh, this person passed out and fell down a stair. Like just bad shit than that, like what you just said. That,
I mean, that's what the whole thing was. I was at the Fish concert and people bring their children and it's awesome. And it was a sin. The kid was walking behind his father. He had to be like 7 or 8. And he tripped over like a sidewalk kind of thing with the boardwalk, and he started having this meltdown. And it was like everybody was trying to like comfort the kid, not comfort, just give him some room. Like I even gave the father some candy to give to the kid. I'm like, listen, this is clean candy. I would never do.
Right, if you have something laced, you're going to keep it for yourself.
Oh, most definitely. It costs too much money. But it was amazing to see how everybody just tried to comfort the kid. He was probably scared shitless. He's hurt. The concert's really loud, but it was a great moment to see how everybody just came together to make sure this kid was okay. People were bringing Band-Aids over to the kid and light sticks and everything's going to be cool.
Yeah, and that's a shame, man, because literally as we're talking, I'm even thinking about all the shows that you and I have gone to together. And like, remember we went and saw Soundgarden and we saw some dude just get like, just fucking stomped by security. Yeah. And I've seen more of that, just people getting out of hand and being knuckleheads and starting fights. And I don't know, man, maybe it's the bro mentality. It's 2022. It's 50 years later. I think a lot of our music that we grew up was bro mentality.
Yeah,
I think so too.
I think that's what really connected me with Fish and the Grateful Dead, that I realized it was like Woodstock. And I was like, this is cool. This is really cool.
But you're also different in that it says it on, our bio on our webpage, like you're a hippie and a metalhead rolled together, right? So you'll listen to, sure. You've told the story. You did shots of Jaeger with Kerry King from Slayer. Yep. But then you got a hippie heart in you. So
I do. I mean, I've always had, I don't know, some kind of thing that always wanted me to be good.
You got that. Henry Rollins once said, like, don't mistake my kindness for weakness. You kind of got that.
Dude, that's the biggest mistake you can make. And people do that down at McCuskers. And they find out real fast that I'm not so nice.
Yeah.
But to see, but you go to Dave Matthews shows, his fans are a bunch of knuckleheads. Like Dave Matthews tries to do what Fish does or what the Grateful Dead does, but their bro mentality in Dave Matthews is always there.
Yeah, I've got something on them for later in the show, but you know what, too, man? It's circling back to Woodstock is like this is also like TV is prevalent. Right. So it's like you hear about all these hippies and the Nam movement and all this stuff. And then suddenly there's like, camera crew here and it gets all the media attention because so many goddamn people showed up. Right. So many people showed up that they were flying some of the acts in like helicopters and people like the highways got all jammed up. They were just like, F it. And people got out of their cars and just walked in. It's like, we'll get the car Monday.
I always thought about how many cars were abandoned from Woodstock to the highway. I'm like, most of those cars, people never went back for their car. It's crazy.
Right.
Crazy to think about it.
And this is like, if you just went up to somebody in a mall, and you're like, excuse me, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you say hippie? A lot of them are going to think of Woodstock. Or vice versa. What's the first thing you think of? Woodstock is hippie.
Yes.
So it's like they're just tied together. So this was like the hippie movement went like front and center. We're mainstream. Here we are, like pop culture, middle America. Like there's people in New York that had never seen a hippie. There's some of those people were like,
they were
losing their minds.
In Bethel, New York, they were like, who are these aliens that are, and what planet do they come from?
Right.
They all start coming in. And at first they really didn't want them there. They really gave all the hippies a hard time. Like they gave the promoters a really hard time how it's going to destroy their community, and all the hippies came in and proved everybody wrong. In the documentary, you just hear the owners of the stores like, I haven't heard so many thank yous and pleases in my life.
Yeah.
This is a good thing. These kids are doing good things.
Yeah, and it was like, and they weren't, and then a lot of the store owners weren't trying to be like, we're doing this. It was like those kids, it was still like they still kept their distance from it. It was just, I don't know, it's like a nuance, but it was really cool.
It really brought revenue to that little town.
Sure.
Like the one thing that all those kids showed up with in their pocket was money. They all showed, maybe they didn't have food, they didn't have this, they didn't have that, but I'm sure they had a couple bucks on them, a piece of, it's not like they were homeless and poor and shit like that. I'm sure they would go to the luncheonette somewhere if the line's not too long and if there's food still available. They were happy to pay for it. I don't think it was like a bunch of bums sitting around trying to get a free meal out of it.
Yeah.
I think it was just so many people there. There wasn't they weren't prepared to give so much food and water to what they say. It was the biggest city in New York City at that moment.
Outside of like downtown Manhattan or something like that. Yeah.
It's like, going on.
And I also think, as much as it's like, if you call something the peak of something, that also means that moving forward, everything is going down. And it really, it's the summer of love, right? It's 69. The decade turns over. It's the beginning of the end. And for a whole lot of other reasons that we've talked about in other episodes. But part of it also is, I think that big business sees this and they're like,
oh, yeah.
Yo, the hippies are like, we want to get some of that money. And this is where it starts to get a little bit more commercial, too.
Oh, yeah. And you have to remember, there's so much crazy shit going on about the hippies. Like the whole Manson thing just happened. Right. And, everybody thought Manson was this hippie guru and he was in charge of all the hippies and all the hippies were Manson heads. And no, the Manson dudes were just fucking crazy.
Yep.
They were just out of their mind. They weren't hippies. I mean, Charles Manson, he just used acid and whatever to use it against people, get them to do whatever he wanted to do.
Yeah, and made some shitty music with the
the Beach Boys.
Yeah. We killed one of his songs in the electric chair before. Yeah. What's interesting too, man, is to talk about. We got to start talking about the actual show, but like what it did also for music. Like just outdoor festivals, right? Because like Monterey was 2 years before this, but Monterey does. If you're a casual music fan, you know Woodstock. You don't know Monterey.
Yeah, I mean, we did our special on Monterey, and
right, and we went artist by artist, and Monterey. I honestly thought there were more amazing performances in Monterey than there were at Woodstock.
Well, I think Monterey was put well together.
Sure.
Well, Woodstock was just like drywalled together.
Yeah.
It didn't last the rainstorm.
Yeah. And that's a good point too, man, because I read that, if you showed up at like most of the people or half of the people that showed up to Woodstock, they never heard a fucking note of the show because the stage wasn't built to play for 500,000 people.
Yeah.
And so if you were far away, you're one of those people that showed up last, like, you couldn't physically get close enough because technology's not even that. Outdoor PA systems that size aren't. We talked about in the Dead Show with the wall of sound, like what they had to build.
I posted a picture of me in the field of Woodstock.
Yes,
in Bethel,
yes,
and you could see how big the stage was. And then you can't turn the picture around, but like me looking at everything is just open.
It was like on a hill too, right? It was
on a hill, and you just can imagine just people and people and people going for like 30 miles. Like how can you have to walk, you can't drive through it. It was a one-time thing in history that worked.
Yeah. I read a New York Times article. They said that they estimated that half of the people who showed up never even heard a single note of the music because they were so far away. So they just kind of hung out and they did all that communal stuff, which speaks even more to the hippie movement of like, if I went to a show like that and I couldn't hear shit, I'd be upset.
I'm sure there was like little bands set up here and there.
Absolutely.
Around. Like there was some kind of vibe going on. you know, they tried to make it an art festival also on top of things with music. So there was a lot of crafts. There was a lot of hippie knickknacks they were trying to sell. You bring a piece of Woodstock home with you, you know, but all the artwork and everything like that. I think everybody forgets about that shit. And everybody just remembers like the Hendrix.
Right. And the Hendrix thing, we'll get to him and how small the crowd was by the time he took the stage.
Sure. Oh, there was no one there.
Yeah, almost everybody was gone because it was like Monday. It was like 9 a.m. Monday morning. Yeah. But it was like, yeah, man. So the majority of people didn't even hear anything. And there's also, you know, like the photos of the crowd are more, you know, the couple in the blanket hugging each other, the naked people, skinny dipping and all that other stuff.
Absolutely. Can you imagine being like a 15-year-old boy going to Woodstock in 1969, and your parents like grew up in the 50s or whatnot, and you have these 50s mentality, and then all of a sudden here comes like this beautiful blonde walking down naked, and just not worrying about like that's culture shock, man.
That's culture shock now, right? Even like I mean, you see this stuff from like Bonnaroo or some of the other like the big, you know, like the rave shows out west, and the girls are all wearing almost nothing with all the neon pasties and shit.
But that's like a whole
different.
That's like a dirty thing. What that was,
right? That's right.
That's like a dirty fucking thing. Like that whole rave fucking thing. Woodstock was a very peaceful kind of earth tone thing, like getting back into the earth. You know. They were hippies, man.
And it's almost like nothing, you know, like Altamont is not that far past this, right? And they tried
just a few months.
Right? And then like they tried to make that like the Woodstock of the West, and
it didn't happen.
Right, again. And it killed the 60s.
Copy it. And
right.
Look through just look what they've done through the history of Woodstock and how they ruin its name through everything through the years.
Yeah, man, sure.
I mean, when I was a kid, it was like, holy shit, Woodstock was... I always knew about Woodstock because I guess it was on the Wonder Years or something like that. But then all these years later, you say Woodstock and you think of all the bullshitness that came along later in life that Woodstock happened like in 99 mostly. I heard 94 was okay, but 99 was a mess, and it really gave a bad name to Woodstock.
Yeah, man, and there's been a whole series of anniversary shows. So I looked that up because there's so much attention right now on Woodstock 99, right? There's a documentary on HBO Max. There's one on Netflix. You know, I started listening to a bunch of podcasts, and I was like, as I was doing that, I was like, wait, wasn't there a 94? Like, we were working in the music store at the time. I had the double CD. I remember buying fucking bootlegs of like Collective Soul set on like eBay. Right, Green Day, Throwing the Mud.
Day was a huge fucking
Nine Inch Nails. And I'm looking this shit up and I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. There was this other shit. Like in 94 has just been overshadowed by the 99 train wreck.
Dude, I was there in 99 and maybe we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
Because Woodstock 99 is shitbag of the week.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Hang on. I can play that.
Woodstock 99. Shitbag of the week.
Shitbag of the week.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, man. Woodstock 99 just, you know, man.
It ruined it. It ruined the whole, the epicness of what Woodstock once was.
I sat down on my, I turned on my laptop earlier in the day and I go into Netflix and I go to put something on while I'm working and I type in Woodstock and the first thing that comes up is Woodstock 99 and what a tire fire it was. Dude, and not the movie. I had to it took me some work to go find the documentary.
I watched the documentary of 99 and I was having flashbacks and it was the worst experience of my life.
Yeah, I would love to hear your perspective on it.
Before the riding, I left. But anyway, original Woodstock.
Yeah, man. So I've got the set list.
Let's talk about some of the music, man. Yeah, who was the first guy that played? Was Richie Havens?
Richie Havens. So Sweetwater was supposed to open the festival, but they got pulled over by the cops on the way in. And there's a lot of this, man, where they're like, shit. we're off schedule. We got to do this. We got to do that. Like so and so can't get here
They're
because of the
scrambling.
traffic, and so they were just kind of throwing shit together because they didn't want to just like leave nothing going on, and
all these kids are waiting for music, and there's no music being happened.
And you know what's interesting too is as I'm pulling up Richie Havens Woodstock is you said before the Altamont that like the Dead wouldn't go out on stage right after all that shit with the Stone.
They were
like
the Dead were totally we're not going out.
And here they're like, yo, we need to we got to keep the thing moving. We can't just leave everybody sitting here with nothing to do. So
and like Richie Havens was like the only one there. Hey, pretty. That was really pretty.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No. Richie Havens was the only performer there, right, that could perform and get these kids starting to watch. So what Haven does, he goes out there, and number one, he's not happy that he's the first act in Woodstock. He's like, I have to open this shit up. Like, how do I even entertain so many people at once? And he played like every single song he knew. He played like way over like an hour, maybe like longer.
Yeah,
just
he
because
said
nobody was ready to play after him.
Yeah, he came up with the thought of playing the song "Motherless Child" like on it. He like the lyrics just popped into his head because he was like humming. I gotta play something.
He said he was just singing "Freedom," which is the beginning of that song. He's like,
yeah,
freedom. I'm just a motherless child.
Yeah, here I'll play.
Let's
play a little bit of that.
Freedom. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child.
Man, dude, and he was all right. So you got like you got this festival open. You got a black dude playing acoustic guitar, singing "Freedom, Freedom, Freedom, Freedom." Like, just it's so powerful. And then and he got. I mean, this like really propelled his career too.
It made him famous overnight. I mean, he wrote that song on the spot. Like there was no other recordings of this song. Just the version that was on the Woodstock.
Right, it was like an impromptu kind of thing.
Yeah, like that was like I played in bands before and magic happens, but that shit is real magic.
Yeah,
he totally captured the moment as a songwriter, just writing. So it was fucking great. It was art.
He's awesome, man. I listened to him a little bit.
Where do I know him from? Besides being at Woodstock, was he on like Sesame Street or something?
He was in Married with Children when they did Old Aid, when Al Bundy becomes Axel Bundy.
That's a shame. That's a shame. They put him on Married with Children.
And Al Bundy plays the hoagie. Like they do like a parody of Wheel of the World. It was like John Sebastian and a couple other people. He did a couple other songs with like Groove Armada. They were kind of like Massive Attack a little bit. He did some other kind of stuff. He kind of had like a resurgence maybe in like the early 2000s. He's just really cool, man. I like Richie Havens.
Really cool.
I dig him a lot.
A friend of mine met him.
Really?
And he gave him free tickets to a show. It was a funny story. He said he ran out to his car and he had Jimi Hendrix live from Woodstock. So he runs in and says, "Mr. Havens, the only thing I have from Woodstock is this Jimi Hendrix. Do you mind saying?" He's like, "No, Jimmy was one of my good friends. Absolutely." And he wrote this thing like Jimmy, whatever. Very cool. I saw it once at his house. I was like, this is a very cool piece to have.
Yeah, really cool. I think so he opens it on Friday night, and then like Sweetwater eventually comes up. You know what, man? There's a lot of bands that played in this in Woodstock that are like, time has not remembered.
I don't remember Sweetwater.
Yeah, so it's like, I'm looking at the opening, the Friday night, man. Well, here's some Sweetwater. I don't even know if I know the song. I'll play a little bit. It's called "What's Wrong" by Sweetwater.
rocking.
Yeah, I'm digging it. It's not my...
They're very unforgettable.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very forgettable. Like, nobody...
Yeah.
I heard of them, but I never really cared enough to maybe go down that rabbit hole.
That whole first night, man. So it was Richie Havens, Swami Satchichandra, Sweetwater, Brett Sommer, Tim Hardin, Ravi Shankar, Melanie, Arlo Guthrie, and your girl Joan Baez.
Arlo would have been awesome to see.
Yeah. And Joan Baez gets up and she starts talking about like her husband was in jail for refusing to go to Vietnam, and she starts talking about like all the prisons he's in, and I don't her voice just doesn't do anything for me. But
she's the Kate Bush files.
Yes, the Kate Bush she's the Kate Bush of Woodstock. Holy shit, man! I have a playlist up in front of me from Spotify that I found, like Woodstock '69, and they've got Joan Baez must have played 20 songs. I have a lot in front of me.
She was a huge star too at that time.
Yeah, she played We Shall Overcome, and she played some other. I mean, she's important culturally. I just don't. Her voice just gets on my nerves.
Yeah, she's very important culturally. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if we need to play anything.
She was big with Dylan. They were buddies.
Yeah, she dated she dated Steve Jobs from Apple as well.
That's crazy.
I was googling some shit about her today, but anyway,
weird.
Yeah. I don't know. We don't need to play anything from her, right? We don't.
Please don't.
Okay.
Maybe when we do the electric chair, we'll play
okay. All right.
her.
We can do that.
I appreciate her, but I don't appreciate her in my ears.
Yeah, I know where she fits in, but yeah. All right. And so, all right. Well, let's just go into Saturday, because Saturday's where kind of the big stuff opens. The first band that is a band called Quill. No idea.
Right on.
Country Joe McDonald. So Santana was supposed to come on, and they weren't ready. So Country Joe from Country Joe and the Fish, he jumped in. We'll talk about him a little bit later. Santana comes on afterwards. Dude, this performance of Santana, that made their career.
Oh, yeah. They very famous.
They were, I was reading somewhere, like Chicago was supposed to play. And Chicago also, the manager kind of pushed them out because he also managed Santana, wanted Santana to play.
Yeah, I mean, Santana, I think, would be a better fit for Woodstock.
Yeah. Oh, here, I have it. Chicago signed on to play the gig, but they had a contract with Bill Graham. Bill Graham also, the contract meant that Bill Graham could schedule dates. So he moved some of Chicago's dates, so they had to go play somewhere else. So Santana could take their spot because he also managed Santana.
Wow.
Which is the right call.
Totally. It made Santana's career. Like, there's that story of Santana that he was like tripping and the guitar was turning into like a snake.
Yeah.
He was just trying to choke it.
Yeah.
There's footage of him like playing, and it's so intense.
Yeah. Here's a little bit of Evil Ways. That performance made Santana's career much like Monterey made Janis's career.
Oh, totally. I mean, nobody really knew who Santana was, but when that soundtrack and that movie came out, it was so intense that people took notice of it.
Yeah. They're great, man.
I saw Santana. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I did too.
Santana.
I saw him a couple years ago. They were awesome.
Oh, he's master of his craft. What was one year, it was called the Horde Fest, and Santana was on there with Fish, and Fish was Santana's backup band.
Oh, that's cool.
I wish it was like 1992. My God, that would be amazing.
We saw him maybe 5 years ago, and he was great, man. I mean, he had that whole second resurgence with all the Rob Thomas and all. You know, he's kind of like pop music.
Yeah.
I mean, good for him, man. Dude, he's an amazing guitar player, and he has such a hippie vibe around him.
Yeah, he's very philosophical and very, spiritual.
Yeah,
very spiritual. There was a book about him. I'd read that.
Yeah, it'd be pretty interesting.
He's an interesting guy.
Yeah. Let me keep, who else we got on here? So they play, John Sebastian from Loving Spoonful gets up. He wasn't even supposed to play, but he was kind of just hanging around.
There.
And like all the bands weren't there yet. So they were like, again, they just kind of threw him in.
Dude, they couldn't get the bands in. They were like helicopter.
They were literally
bringing people in.
Yeah.
And they had to stop. They would have to stop playing the music because the helicopter was louder than the music. And everybody was bummed out by that.
The Keith Hartley Band, I have no idea who that is. Who else shows up?
They were looking for anybody. They were looking for anybody that can get out there.
The Incredible String Band, I don't know them. Canned Heat. So Canned Heat comes on, man. They're a band, I don't know how they were not more popular.
I don't know anything about them.
This isn't Woodstock, but this is, you probably know this song. This is On the Road Again.
Oh, sure.
This song.
I changed my mind. This is that's the Electric Chair song.
Dude, no, hang on, man. Let me find something. Can't Heat a Woodstock. Here you go. This is the Woodstock Boogie. This is the.
How many songs you think were made up on the spot?
Probably a
So
lot,
many.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been at shows before, like played gigs, and the guitarist hasn't showed up yet, and the crowd is waiting,
Yeah.
and it sucks.
Yeah. I like
waiting
them.
crowd.
I know the guy's voice can be a little much how high it is, but
I hate that on the road again.
okay. They did an
I
album
hate
with
that
John Lee
song.
Hooker, which is great too.
Yeah, that's
But,
great. That's awesome.
All right. So then the band that comes on next is another band that I never understood how they were not bigger, and that was Mountain.
Sure,
They
were a great band.
My middle kid is 18. He's been in his room blasting Mountain the last couple
Really?
days,
Good for
and I'm
him.
like, you listening to Leslie West? That dude, like you can trace the dots between like Sabbath and early heavy metal back to them, right? Like
Very easy.
That huge fucking guitar sound. This was the third concert they ever played, so they were like a pretty new band.
Can you play something by Mountain?
Yeah, man. Let me just find something on here. Southbound Train from Woodstock. They hadn't recorded like Mississippi Queen yet or any of that other stuff, but they had such a huge sound.
They were
man.
a great band.
They
should be in
awesome.
the Rock and Roll Hall. of
They
Fame.
I looked that up. They've never even been nominated.
They never even mentioned.
No, and they should be, man, because they were one of the first heavy metal bands.
The lead singer, just passed away in the last. 10
Leslie
years.
West. Yeah,
Yeah, I saw him on the Rock Show on VH1. He was a very big personality. He was a big dude.
yeah. He used to go on
But
Howard
then he had
Stern all
this-
the time.
He used to have this huge personality.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. I just have in my notes like, holy shit, that guitar.
Yeah.
And they only got on the bill because their manager also managed Hendrix, so he kind of like snuck him in, got him a gig. But yeah, man, Mountain is one of the great most underrated bands in the history of rock and roll.
I'm with you.
But-
they were fucking rocking for like a 3-piece band.
Yeah.
4-piece band. I don't know how, but they were rocking.
But they have that huge fucking sound, right? Nobody
Yes.
sounds like that at the time, and then the
Yes.
Dead come on after them, and it's like it's late, right? It's
Yeah.
I forget what time the Dead took the stage, but
The Dead, like everything else, they blow the big opportunities. Like they said they were like backstage for so long, tripping balls and everything like that, and they go out there and they said they had the worst show they could possibly have.
it's 10:30 Friday, at 10:30 Saturday night they take the stage.
Yeah.
So they play from 10:30 to like 5 after midnight.
Dude, they said it was like the worst set that they played. It's the reason why it's not on the soundtrack or it's not in the movie. The Grateful Dead, they have always a problem like selling their image. They weren't in the Monterey Pop Festival movie because of the same thing.
Right.
They didn't want their image to be known through Woodstock because of lawyers, and nobody was going to make money off of them anyway.
So the three biggest festivals of the 60s, right? Woodstock, Altamont, and Monterey. They don't want to be in the movie. They don't want to take the stage after the Stones, after all that shit. So they kind of like shit the bed. They shit the bed.
Dude, on all the big gigs, they fucking shit the bed. And they all said that. I don't know. But that just goes along when we were talking about our episode about how they were so unorganized.
Even, I read that like it was by this point it was raining real hard, so they were like, well, we touched our instruments, we were getting a shock, and it sounded like crap, and it was late, and like putting in between Mountain and then CCR comes on after them. It's like that's just a bad God. Like if you're putting a list together, man, it's just not a that's not
you put CCR after. I mean, the Dead's going to be the Dead or whatever. They're still like very psychedelic at the time. They're still bluesy and everything, but it's still young in their career. And then you bring out CCR and just fucking rips it apart.
Right. And between Leslie West guitar, I mean, if you gave me all these bands and you said build a set list, I'm putting the Dead on maybe 11 a.m. Sunday morning. I'm not
sure.
Maybe 1 in the afternoon, right? Everyone's getting up, they're getting out. I'm not doing it in between these two huge fucking bands, right? And CCR was like, I mean, they were one of the biggest bands of that era. They were enormous. It's just shitty place to put them. And then they played they played for an hour and a half, and 40 minutes of it is a version of Turn On Your Love Light. And it was it's interesting because I struggled to try to find like recordings of their Woodstock show on.
They're very big on, how can I say it? Their copywriting, their images,
right? But
all
it's
that
like
shit.
But all the we talked about this in the episode about them, all the bootlegs and tapers and all this shit.
Yeah,
and it was like I could find it, but it wasn't like front and center like some of the stuff. Like if I want to hear Hendrix doing the Star Spangled Banner, I could find it in 5 seconds. But finding anything the Dead did, it was like it took me a little bit of digging to find it. I was surprised
because they didn't want to be out there because it was so bad.
50 years later, it's still kind of that way. Like Spotify, it's hard to find. Crazy.
It's not out there.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, maybe the bootlegs are out there.
Yeah.
But it must have been really bad for them not to put it out.
Yeah. You want to keep moving?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I don't want. CCR comes on next, man. So CCR, they were the first band of all of Woodstock to sign a contract. So the promoters were kind of like, we didn't know anybody's going to sign up, going to be down with it. And CCR, when they sign up, everyone else is like, all right, cool, this is legit.
They were like the first ones to sign up, and then everybody started, if they're going to play, we're going to play.
Yeah, but they come on, it's almost like 3 a.m. And so they were also like, all right, dude, I can find the exact set time. CCR, stage time, Woodstock. So they come on it's 12:30. It's 12:30 in the morning, and they play for an hour. So by then, everybody's either asleep or they're so zonked out on, Scooby snacks that.
I thought they would have played longer. They go out there for an hour. They were probably like, let's get the hell out of here.
They played like 11 songs. They're not in the movie.
They're a pain in the ass.
They're one of my favorite bands of all time. But they didn't like the way they sound, and much like the Dead, they said, no, you can't put us in the movie, and that was it. And they played. I'm looking at the set list, man. They played all their hits. They played "Born on the Bayou" and "Bad Moon Rising," "Proud Mary," "Put a Spell on You," Susie Q. They played everything, but whatever.
But it just shows you how much complications they were having with the sound.
Yeah,
Woodstock.
Yeah,
people were playing, but doesn't mean it came out sounding good.
Right. Like here's a little bit of "Bad Moon Rising." Sounds all right to me.
It's rocking.
Yeah, I mean, but
unless they didn't want to be like, they didn't want to be. I keep on trying to figure this fucking word out.
Exploited.
Exploited. They didn't want to be exploited.
Yeah, and CCR also has a lot of. I forget
They're
when
a pain in the
I forget
ass.
when they broke up, but I can. When did CCR break up?
They're all self-righteous dudes.
They broke up in 72. But yeah, man, they had like this fucking dysfunction between all of them and everything that happened and everything else. But anyway, so they play. They didn't want to be on the thing. And then, the rest of this night, man, is just fucking amazing. So then Janis comes on. And
What time does she come on?
She comes on.
1 o'clock in the morning?
It's 2 in the morning when Janis comes on.
And she comes on. Holy shit. I think frame of mind of what time of day the show's happening is adds to it. Like, it's 2 in the morning and here comes Janis.
I'm on woodstockfandom.com. So the Dead play from 10:30 to midnight. Creedence plays from midnight to 1:15. Janis plays from 1:30 to 2:45. It's also interesting looking at this is like there's 15 minutes in between these. So they're like pow, 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 right? Because you don't have all that big elaborate, all that shit you're setting up and everything else. But
if you look at that stage, just no thrills.
Right. But
it's like they built it in like less than like 3 weeks.
Right. So
you're talking about like 10 carpenters coming out trying to build this thing.
Right. Some fucking union guys coming out and just banging it out in a couple of days, right? Because you said like, do you want me to build the ticket booth or do you want me to build the stage? What do you want me to do? It's not like the stadium tour we just saw where they had the fireworks and monitors and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
But so Janis was, out of all the research we did for this show, this was the one that like I went and pulled up I listened to the whole thing, like whatever, not what's in the movie, like just play her whole performance.
Did you listen to her whole set,
dude? It's so.
I think
good.
You need an award just for that,
dude. I just.
How do you sit through that whole fucking set?
My notes just say, "God damn it! Why does she have to die so early?" She is so.
Yeah, she's great. She's awesome. I just have this thing with Janis.
What? What do you have?
Oh, somebody ruined it in the bar for me for years. Some drunken woman would sing all the Janis songs on the jukebox.
You guys said that in another episode.
And it ruined it for me forever. So I can't listen to Janis at all.
I think
I do love her. I mean, fuck. I mean, she was amazing.
I think her and Aretha are the two greatest female American singers of all time.
Absolutely.
And I had a couple. I put in my note, if this doesn't move you, you don't have a fucking soul. Some of the stuff, but so I get a little nerd in this, and I wrote like, so she's playing with the Cosmic Blues Band, right? She's not playing with the holding company. Right. And the Cosmic Blues Band, if you listen to it, it's got a horn section, so it does sound a little bit different. She was an enormous Otis Redding fan, so I was like, I could hear that Stax record sound in this, what she's doing.
Oh yeah, she was huge Otis.
And she said Otis taught me how to push a song instead of just sliding all over it.
She got all that.
Yeah,
she got all that from Otis.
And she plays a song, "Can't Turn Loose." That's an Otis Redding song. So she covers an Otis Redding song on it, but she doesn't sing on it. The band plays it and she dances with it. But here's we're gonna play. Here's "Work Me, Lord." This is great.
Every day I keep pushing, I keep trying to move forward, but something is surrounding me. Whoa, babe. Something's trying to hold on to me. Turn my world black. Whoa, please.
But I was saying I listened to that this week. I actually went, I'm like, I pulled it up on YouTube because I'm like, I need to see it. I want to see her singing these notes, man. She's just
very, very emotional.
She's on a whole she's on a whole nother plane with rock and roll with me, but you know.
She was. No, I it's not that I hate her. It just, it just gives me the bad memories.
Right.
I have some good Janis memories. I saw one time, a Broadway play called Love Janis, and it was Janis's letters home to her sister. And they had two Janis Joplins on stage. One, the sweet girl from wherever she was from, and then you had the rock star Janis Joplin. and they would go back and forth with alter egos, and they would read the letters. It was amazing.
The flagship, the Pantheon show, Rock and Roll Archaeology, which is like you have to listen to that, dude. You would really enjoy it. I've been saying that to you for 2 years.
I should. There's a lot of things I should do.
It's
the stand up.
It's long. It's like 18 hours, but it's like their latest episode starts with Janis dying. It's really good.
Like the 24 hours of her dying.
It starts with it's kind of about they focused a little bit on like Joni Mitchell and Carole King and Janis, but they dive into like what happened to Janis, and when she died there was some questionable some people moved some shit around in her hotel room because they were trying to help.
The heroin and
they were trying to help and like hide some of the drugs and some other stuff, but terribly tragic figure.
Yeah, I mean, God knows what she would have been,
right?
If she didn't die. I mean, she would have been like this iconish thing, probably bigger than Tina Turner.
Right, I completely agree, man. All right, so there's 3 more acts to play on Saturday night, and we're not going to go act by act of every single person that plays at Woodstock, but these next couple, man, Sly and the Family Stone, they are fucking awesome.
I love
Woodstock.
Sly Family Stone. They brought the house down,
dude. They were so good. I was like, man, so I had the movie playing in the background, right? I had it open on my laptop, and I was just doing some work, and I was listening to it, and I was like, at some point, I stopped. I was like, holy shit, this is so good.
He was so good live. Like live was where he was at.
When he starts yelling at the crowd, like I think it's when I want to take you higher. He was like, "Come on, right, come on!" Like he's taunting the crowd. Like, dude, it was so good.
Yeah, he was like a preacher when he was up there.
Yeah, I just wrote
funky preacher.
I only have 2 notes underneath him. I just wrote awesome, and we need to do a funk episode. That was the only thing I wrote down.
I've been saying that for a while. We do a funk episode, bro.
I know. I want to talk about like Parliament, George Clinton, and
I could talk about Mothership, bro.
Dude, that'd be great.
The Mothership. I know all about it.
Do you want to hear some? I want to take you higher.
Yeah. So awesome. Boom shakalaka laka boom shakalaka boom.
All right, dude, it's awesome.
Oh God, it's a shame that he had that bad stroke and he can't communicate with anybody anymore.
Yeah, but man, you think about it too. Like all these other bands that have been playing, nobody sounds like this. And so they take the stage now. It's 3:30 in the morning.
Could you imagine?
Right, they play from 3:30 to 4:15. You're like, what the? If you're still standing,
a short set. That's a short set.
But if you're still standing, you had to have drank as much coffee as I do on a normal night, or you are so jacked up.
You're definitely probably more jacked up than drinking coffee at Woodstock.
Right. There's probably not a lot of coffee to be found. Man, I think they're one of the best performances of the whole night.
I think they're one of the best performances, period, at the end of Woodstock. I think they get overshadowed by Janis and Sha-Na-Na. I'm like kidding.
Sha-Na-Na is great, man. We'll talk about them in a minute.
They play day 3, right?
Yeah, and the band the guy that I think did the best performance, he's coming up Sunday, but we'll talk about him in a minute. But yeah, man, Sly and the Family Stone, dude, they are fucking awesome. Nobody sounds like this in the entire bill, top to bottom. Yeah, they just come out and it is just funky music is great because it's just so funky.
You can't fuck up funky.
Man, that big chunky bass, and it's great. And he said that like he is being a preacher the way he's yelling at the crowd, and he's got to be. It's 3:30 in the morning, right? He's probably
got to get him up. He probably had them rocking.
He's working his ass off to get that crowd. Yeah. Whoever many people, I have no idea how that worked, man. If you had the people that were, they said so many people couldn't hear anything. I don't know if the people went back. The back is where all the tents and shit were. If they went back and went to bed, I have no idea what it looked like in front of the stage. But he's working hard. It's 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Oh, his band is kicking ass too. Like they came to take names.
Yeah, man. A funk episode. We could do a whole. We could
Yeah,
do a
dude.
James
We
Brown
talk about
episode, but we could do
James
we could do a whole episode, everybody but James Brown episode.
Yeah.
Would be awesome. Man, there's so much stuff to play. So the Who played, man, Adultery. So what time did they come on?
They
come
played
on.
for like fucking 2 hours.
They played. It's 5 a.m. till 7:45. So they played
Jesus, they play all Tommy.
right, and
They play all Tommy, and it's
fucking
completeness.
5 a.m. they come on. And Roger Daltrey was high on LSD when he took
I'm
the
sure.
stage. He said
sure.
he said they were trying to find some catering backstage, and they couldn't find anything that wasn't laced with LSD.
Laced.
And he said, "F it," and just took something. Yeah, dude, they played a ton of songs.
No, I think they played they had something like "Pay Us Before We Go On" kind of thing. They did like that kind of gimmick,
Okay,
like "Pay me before we go on, or we're not going on." So they got paid, and they put a help. They were like, "All right, you paid us. We're gonna play the fuck out of this."
okay.
And like they said, they came out and gave out one of the best performances of Woodstock. They did all of Tommy. You know, there's that famous footage of Daltrey wearing the fringe
Yeah.
outfit, spinning around the microphone, and Pete Townsend's wearing that jumper.
Yep.
You know, it was
Yeah, we can
was
play something,
totally
man.
memorable.
What do you want to hear? What'd they play? Summertime Blues. My generation's pretty rocking. When we play that.
yeah, do that.
People try to put us down. Just cause sweet. They do look awful. Hold on time before it get old.
Love it.
Man, Keith Moon must have felt right at home at Woodstock. You know, he was like, "Oh, my people."
That's a
Just-
great tune, man. That's a very like
Yeah.
kind of punk sounding
Sure.
rock and roll song. So
I think the Who is one of the pioneers of punk, like Sabbath's one of the pioneers of metal.
Yeah, I
think the
agree.
Who's pioneers of punk.
yeah, I agree.
They played a rockin' set though. Like, you know, they gave their money's worth. I'm telling you, they're one of the ones that played the longest.
All right, man. And then the last artist of the night. So the fucking of the day. I don't know where they drew the line. They broke this up in the Saturday. It was Jefferson Airplane. So Jefferson Airplane finally takes the stage. It's 8:00 in the morning. They played till
Jesus.
9:30. They're not very good.
I don't think they are. They were very popular, and I think because of Grace Slick. I
Yeah,
think,
and they were-
that White Rabbit song was like they were like a one-hit wonder. No, not really.
They were no. I really like Jefferson Airplane.
Yeah.
I think no band has gone from so good to so bad so fast. Is
What the Mannequin song built this city for
yeah,
rock and roll.
Yeah, I saw them over the summer.
Oh, good for you.
Fourth of July. Right. Let me finish my point with
Still alive?
So no, well, she's not. She's still alive, but she's not in the band anymore. She
okay.
She quit a long time ago. So
Yeah.
Jefferson Airplane became Jefferson Starship, and Jefferson Starship
Nice.
became Starship, and it got shittier and shittier. But I was in Albany over 4th of July for vacation, and we went into downtown Albany, and they had this big pavilion. There was a band playing, and I was like, "That's fucking Starship playing," and it was Starship was playing.
That's unreal.
This free show before the fireworks in Albany, New York. So I could say I saw them.
I wonder if any guys from the airplane was in that Starship left.
But Jefferson Airplane was cool. White Rabbit was
Yeah.
huge. Volunteers was huge. I mean, Volunteers is a big like hippie kind
Yeah.
of song. You know, it looks like they play a little
She
bit.
had a great voice. I mean, they were very popular.
Yeah, she could sing, man. She she kind of walked away because she had an alcohol problem.
Yeah, she was a mess.
Here's a little bit of Volunteers. Volunteers is pretty rocking.
Okay.
Maybe that
I
song's
don't know
big
that
too. It's
song.
like, really?
I don't know that one. Yeah,
That was in
dude,
the Forrest
never
Gump
heard that one.
soundtrack, and
Oh yeah, I missed that one.
yeah, man, that's a great song. It's a very counterculture, got a revolution, going to start a revolution kind of shit. But
Sure.
I like them. I like them a lot, but it's all good.
That's cool. I didn't know you liked them that much.
Yeah, man. I said I think I like them so much because she had such a good voice, and then it's like the bands that they turned into just got so fucking terrible.
Very
It's
interesting.
so bad. But
Very interesting.
so all right, man. So that brings us up to 10 a.m. So they get done at 9:45 in the morning on Sunday. So
Wow.
and it's a good spot. We can we take a
Take a little
break.
break?
Yeah, we'll come back. We'll bang out Saturday or Sunday, Monday morning, and then we got some music news and all that other stuff.
Yeah, man.
All right, dude. Stick around.
around.
Prisoners of Rock and Roll is sponsored by McCusker's Tavern at 17th and Shunk Streets in Philadelphia. There's something for everyone on the beer list and the jukebox at McCusker's. It's minutes from the sports stadiums in Philly, making it a great place to stop by for a few drinks before or after a concert or a game. Come see for yourself why everyone from Philadelphia Magazine to Playboy has called it one of the best dive bars in the city. Visit them at 17th and Shunk Streets in Philadelphia or on Facebook. That's McCusker's Tavern. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Bruce.
You know what, man? I am so excited to tell you that Prisoners of Rock and Roll is sponsored by Boldfoot Socks.
I hear good things about them.
First of all, I'm excited to have them on board because their owner, Josh, is a big music fan. You're a fan of music, you're a fan of mine.
Awesome.
And secondly, the team over there makes comfortable, stylish socks for work, working out, or doing a podcast. Boldfoot Socks are made in America, and their motto is grown here, sewn here. They're a veteran-owned business and give 5% of all their proceeds to veteran charities. I like supporting businesses that pay it forward, so Boldfoot Socks gets 2 thumbs up in my book. Or maybe I should say 2 toes up. That's why they don't let me write ad copy. Anyway, go visit Boldfoot Socks. Anyway, go visit them at boldfoot.com and check out all the different styles they have. That's boldfoot.com. All right, we're back from the commercial break. Thanks so much for sticking around with us. So we're ready to go into Sunday morning. And Sunday morning is a little weird because really Sunday morning or Sunday for Woodstock starts at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So the music ends at 10 a.m. on Saturday. They have a break and they pick up at 2 o'clock. And this is my single favorite performance of all of the shows. And this is Joe Cocker.
Yes. Joe Cocker's the man.
This is like we did the Monterey episode. I was talking about how much I love Otis at Monterey. Like Joe Cocker at Woodstock and Otis at Monterey. It's the same. Like, fuck, it's so good.
Fucking right, dude. They're so good. Joe Cocker's on another level on that stage.
And that's another thing, man. Like, just go, if you look at the video, like, I was funny, man. I was talking, when I told my mom that we were doing this podcast, I said something about Joe Cocker, and she was like, my mom thought he had like MS or something. You ever see him like sing the way he he shakes? She thought he had like a disability. And I was like, no, man, he's just overcome with music.
Like I always thought maybe he was having like little seizures.
Yeah,
or
right.
Something.
He's just completely
but as you get
overcome.
older, yeah, I mean, he was just overcome by the same. He was a big drinker at the same time.
Yeah, he kind of drank himself to death too.
That added to his persona. I seen Joe Cocker in concert.
Have you really?
Yep.
That's
awesome.
That was on my bucket list that I wish I would have seen. I never saw.
I saw him like when we worked at the record store. I got free tickets for it.
Oh man,
Jimmy Vaughn opened up for him.
Oh fuck, dude.
Was it the Fabulous Thunderbirds? Yeah.
What?
It was awesome.
When you were working with me, you went to that. You didn't take me.
No,
Some record rep.
Some
record rep came in and gave him to you, and they're like, "Don't tell your asshole boss." Man, I don't feel too bad making you clean the toilet all those years at that place. Holy crap!
That's what they said. Holy crap! In there.
Oh man, what I got to play something, man. Man, he played for like an hour and 15 minutes. Feeling all right, dude. It's just rocking. Let's play some of that.
Come along, and I'm blessed, Lord.
Do you remember on SNL, Belushi would imitate Joe Cocker, and he would be like slamming beers down and fucking belting out just like him. But I don't know what made me think of that. It's just memorable to me of Joe Cocker being with John Belushi on stage.
He is in another level, and I don't like. You hear so much shit about like cultural appropriation, right? Like, oh, you're stealing a certain thing, and like the term like blue-eyed soul, right? It's like that's like a thing. But I was like, man, he's in another level. Like, I don't think of that as like cultural appropriation. Like, he could just fucking sing, man. He just brought it.
He's very, very soulful, very soulful.
Yeah, I don't know what. I don't even know who else I would put in like a blue-eyed soul kind of thing, but it's like
nobody sang like him.
Yeah, man.
But, I mean, you could sit here and talk about like Daryl Hall and shit like that, the blue-eyed soul thing. But I think maybe Joe Cocker was the original like blue-eyed soul.
They said he also I think he died of lung cancer, and they said he smoked like 40 cigarettes a day. I mean, you could fucking hear it in his voice, right? Yeah. He's just like sounds like he ate a glass of fiberglass insulation.
Yeah, he definitely lived rock and roll.
Yeah. He was, man, that's one of my favorite live performances ever of him.
Yeah, he does a little help. He does a little help from my friends on there.
Yeah, right.
Which is epic.
The Wonder Years theme song.
Yes.
And that's also amazing.
Growing up, I always knew who Joe Cocker was because of the Wonder Years.
Yes, I did too. I think I knew that. I think I knew the Joe Cocker version before I knew the Beatles version.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And go look at the video, man. You can there on Spotify. I mean, his whole set thing it's an album that they released just live at Woodstock. Go look at it. Go look at the YouTube videos, man, because like seeing him do it with all the way he shakes his body and everything is just it's really cool.
He's definitely fucking awesome.
Yeah. This is one that I like when we got to it, like, you know, we've been doing the show long enough that I'm like, fuck, we haven't talked about this person yet. And I was like, man,
we never talked about Joe Cocker.
All right, man. So he comes up, he blows off the stage. And again, man, it's like, it's Sunday. So if you rolled in Friday night, right, you were just up all night. You slept for a couple hours, and then you see Joe Cocker. Joe Cocker gets done at 3:15. And then there's not another band till 6:30 because it rains like hell.
Yes.
So they just kind of they put the time out on everything, and then
like imagine like nowhere to go with all that rain coming down.
Right. There's like it's not like everybody had a tent.
And it was like one of those. It wasn't raining. It was a fucking storm. Yeah.
Right.
People were like climbing the rafters to get better view or better sound of the stage, and they're out there asking everybody, please come down. It's not safe. They're saying we're going to get a bunch of rain. We're going to bunch of rain coming down, and then you have Country Joe McDonald come out, and be like, no rain, no rain.
Yes.
No rain.
So the announcements during the crowd, right? At some point, like the movie has all the PA announcements, like they say like don't take the brown acid. The acid's
famously.
Yeah. It's not spiked. It's just not good.
Yeah, they're like, you're not going to die.
Right.
Everything is not poison. Believe us, it's not poison.
Right. But then it's also don't climb the the sound equipment because there's a rainstorm coming and all kinds of other shit. But yeah, man.
Bill Graham was. Do you ever see that Bill Graham standing on the stage?
Yeah,
I think Bill Graham got there and was like, somebody has to take charge of this fucking shit.
Well, you know what? Also, too, man, Wavy Gravy is doing a lot of the PA shit in between too, from the Dead.
Yeah,
and we didn't talk about him We didn't talk about him at all.
We didn't talk about him at all
in the Grateful Dead thing, but he was kind of like a secondary character of the Grateful Dead, and he's also got the fucking Ben and Jerry's flavor named after him, but just like another dude in that.
I think he played a very important role at Woodstock. He was in charge of the peace police,
right?
They called, and it wasn't like they were security guards; they were just people making sure nobody was getting out of hand.
Which is interesting because if we talk about the '99 show, they have peace police, and they're way different.
No, that's a whole other episode.
Yeah. But
this was, like his community, the pig farmers. They were called. They came out and they gave the food kitchen and all this other things to take care of all these kids that went to the show. They put a few tents up called the Freak Out tent. So if you were having like a really bad acid trip, you can go into this tent and calm down. And the person would be like, all right, you're cool to be alone. But then the next person would come in and you would have to talk the next guy down. Like, all right, you're
very communal.
Yeah.
There's one episode in the movie where the one girl, I felt bad for her because she starts, they play the music and then they split and they start just interviewing random people. And this girl was like, I need to get home. And she starts crying and really freaking out. And they were like, hey man, like you can go get some breakfast here. It's okay. Like you'll be all right. And she was like, I just want to, there's too many people. And you felt bad for him a little bit. And I was glad that part was in the movie because they're going to show like it wasn't all
kumbaya. There was all kinds of shit going on. They only show the good stuff. With the gate crasher, it was kind of like a little riot,
right?
Almost. It was. They didn't really catch it on screen, but they were like jumping over the barriers and crushing the barriers. It wasn't so peaceful.
Right.
Not all of it was peaceful.
And I put this on our social media yesterday. So I was watching a documentary, and during the Santana thing, they have the screen split into like thirds, and they're showing different three groups of people. And one was a guy butt naked, and he was holding a sheep.
I seen that.
And I screamed, like, what the fuck is going on in this movie? What? There has to be a story to that. Right, because there's no way I'm 2022 that I'm the first guy to be like, why is this butt naked dude holding a sheep of Woodstock? So that's my homework. I'm going to find out who that was.
I'm sure it's out there, dude. The internet can find anything.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a story. But so Sunday, we got Monday morning yet. We got Joe Cocker played, and then Country Joe and the Fish come on. They come on like 6:30 to 7:15. We said this at the Monterey, like. They were like largely forgotten as a band.
Definitely.
Right?
Like I don't know anything about them.
The Fish, do you know the song? Like the Fish cheer when they go like, give me an F, give me a U, give me a C. Like that becomes like a real...
That's what they're famous for.
Yeah. Let's play that and we'll talk about them. It's it's a hardcore anti-war song, obviously.
I said earlier when we were trying to figure out songs, what we should do an episode of protest songs.
Yes.
I think that'd be cool. Rage Against the Machine and
Arlo
Guthrie. Yeah, right on.
Yeah, and it's like, and they're like, so they played all these big events, and I'm like, kind of like, all right, nobody knows who they are. I don't know them, right? We have a fucking podcast about music.
I don't know. I know their name more than I know any of their music.
Right, they just kind of.
I know they played Woodstock.
Right, and he played here. He played twice, right? So he played solo, and then he played with his band, and he's largely forgotten. So I just thought I find it interesting that they played those two events, and then they just kind of nobody knows who the hell they are. Maybe
it's just like a lot of bands just come and go, bro.
Yeah, man.
That's just one of them.
Yeah,
they played was one of the biggest things in the history of music, and they're forgotten about.
Yeah, and Country Joe, I looked him up a little bit. He's released like 30 solo albums. Like he still makes music. Wow. He's played almost every Woodstock reunion anniversary show. He's trying to make that Woodstock money. I don't know, but anyway.
Hey, why not?
Yeah, it's just interesting. All right, 10 Years After plays, largely forgettable.
I don't know anything about them.
I don't either.
They were, I guess, what kind of band were they?
I don't know.
Like a horn band? Like probably with a horn section? Earth, Wind, and Fire?
Hang on, let me just look. They're not in the Woodstock, this playlist I'm looking at. Let me just look at...
I don't know anything about them.
I don't either. If I just look up 10 Years After and I play whatever song is the most popular, let's see. Here's I'd Love to Change the World. It's got 78 million plays on Spotify. Oh, I know this song.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I thought this was The Who.
Very Who-ish.
Okay. I don't think they played this at Woodstock. But anyway. Okay. All right, so they played. The band played next. The band is not...
They're fucking great. Great band.
Another band we never talked about. Like,
no, it's crazy, man. I mean, they have so many fucking great songs.
I never really got into them. I mean, I like The Weight. I like a couple of their big hits. I'm not a big...
You got to listen to their greatest hits album. The greatest hits album is so... He's like, oh, I know this song. I know this song. What's the drummer's name? Levon
Helms. Yeah.
Levon. I've seen him in concert a few times. And, you know, he was like just as much as the lead singer of the band as Robbie Robertson was. So I got to see him sing some of those classic songs live, which was great. Up on Crystal Creep, and he sang The Weight.
Oh, yeah. Ripple Creek's a big... Ripple Creek. I'm the Ripple Creep. It was a little bit of The Weight from Woodstock. They played it. That's a great song. I'm not I don't know a whole lot about them. I think it's more I just never cared to listen to a ton about them.
You ever hear their version of Bruce Springsteen's Atlantic City?
I think so. Yeah.
It's great.
I'll have to give them a listen. It's not that I don't like them. It's just
listen to the greatest hits.
I just haven't had a lot of time to. All right, I'll put that on my list of things to do.
Yeah, man.
Johnny Winter played.
I love Johnny Winter.
Johnny Winter's interesting in that his manager was like, dude, you ain't going to make any money off this movie. We're not in it. So he took a flat rate fee of like $3,700 instead of being in the movie.
Wow.
And he brought his brother Edgar Winter. So
yeah, sure.
There's some there's like a box set now, like the director's cut. Where the director's cut has like a DVD in it of like extra shit and their performances in there. Yeah.
He was awesome. I don't know if he's still alive. They're just killer guitar players.
Oh, no. Johnny Winter died in 2014.
Okay. I remember seeing him on the Bob Dylan, 50th anniversary concert or wherever it was back in the 90s. And he came out and he fucking ripped it. And I was like, who's this albino guy? He's ripping it apart.
Yeah, they're cool. Blood, Sweat, and Tears played. They're cool. CSNY. That was only the second time that Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young ever played.
I'm like the only person in the world that hates them. I really do. Their laid back sound sucks. I try to be positive on this show.
What don't you like about them?
Well, I don't know where to start. I think David Crosby is a shitbag and his voice sucks.
Okay.
I don't like Graham Nash. I think I just don't like their laid back sound. You know, there's no balls to it.
I don't think they try to approach it with any balls to it.
People love them. I don't know.
Yeah, I like them. I think they sang harmonies as well as anybody since the Beach Boys, and
they were great harmony. I can't take that away from them.
Crosby's a little. I get it, man. Crosby's not the nicest guy in the world.
I don't care about like that. I just don't like his music too. I mean,
so I don't know what time did they play. So they come on. There's like a gap here. So Country Joe and the Fish plays 6:30 to 7:30. 10 Years After comes on 8 to 9. The band plays 10 to 11. Johnny Winter plays midnight to 1. Blood, Sweat, and Tears is 1 to 3. CSNY, man. So they come on. It's 3 o'clock. They play till 4. Paul Butterfield Blues Band. I think they're also largely kind of forgettable.
Yeah,
right. They're kind of like around.
I just know them from Woodstock.
Yeah. 7:30 in the morning, man. Sha Na Na comes on. Sha Na Na only plays for an hour.
Love Sha Na Na.
Sha Na Na is great.
How do we have all these shows and never talk about Sha Na Na?
So Sha Na Na, man, it was like they're kind of the joke, right? Even
I get it.
They're playing in the late 60s, but they're doing covers of all the doo-wop stuff.
You know who they are? They're the backup band in Grease. If you watch Grease during their dance sequence, and they're doing the hand
Okay.
jive.
Yeah.
That's Sha-Na-Na.
Yeah, dude, it's
They're kicking
great.
the
Their
shit
stuff's
out of
great.
They were basically a throwback band of what 50s music was. Now you got to think it's 1968. The 50s are dead, but they rejuvenize like the whole 50s sounds, and they do a bunch of covers of doo-wop songs. Remember, like they had a TV show at one point. They were so popular.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, in the 80s, and like Bowser was like like Urkel. He was like everywhere.
Let's play some Sha-Na-Na, man.
I love
they're
it.
great. Here's Get a
great.
Job.
I wish-
Get a
I wish-
Job's a
God,
great
yeah.
song.
Yeah.
You raise the money to give me back to get me on the way to town for a job. I was represented and for the one that's on the way, I'll never, never say.
It's got a little edge, a little like punk edge to it too. It's almost
and
like
Sha-Na-Na was a great band, dude. They totally get forgotten about. They were big in the 70s. you
yeah.
know?
I think they
They
just
were-
kind of get written off as a novelty, but it's like, yeah, man, they're
Definitely.
awesome.
They are awesome. Like I just said, they're the backup band in Greece, and they're kicking the shit out of it in that sequence.
Yeah.
Sha-Na-Na really looked out of place in that fucking Woodstock movie. Like, they're two guys are wearing gold outfits.
Yeah.
They're dancing like the twist and shit like that. The other guys look like they're like from Vietnam. They're all wearing like vests and stuff like that. It just looks really odd.
Yeah.
They're probably waiting around all fucking weekend to play.
Yeah, and they kind of, it's kind of petering out. So, they get done at 8:00 in the morning on Monday. The show was supposed to be done the night before, right? So if you're still sticking around, God bless you. And then, so they leave the stage at 8, and then there's an hour break, and then fucking Hendrix takes the stage.
Holy
and Hendrix
shit.
plays till 11. So it's
And
Monday
there was
morning.
like nobody there.
They said there was like 30 or 40,000 people still there out of 500,000. 500,000 people. Most of them
It's
are
like
all
nobody.
gone. Most of them ain't going to work. They're just like, we just want to shower.
They're just trying to figure out how to get the fuck home, how to
Right.
get their car out of all this traffic.
And he, after Joe Cocker, he is the most, everybody knows that version of the Star Spangled Banner.
He played that whole set is pretty famous.
Yeah. That's another
He
one.
plays
I
like
listen.
Hey Joe on there and shit.
Yeah.
It's all out there.
Foxy
It's-
Lady, Fire, like the whole thing. Even the Star Spangled Banner is like, it's part of like a jam, like a longer, right? He's playing Voodoo Child and he plays it, and then he goes into Purple Haze. It's like a 20-minute thing that he like
this
all
thing
kinds
he
of spills
does,
into each other.
He took the Star Spangled Banner and he took what the world was going on into song. Like the sounds that he was making sounds of war, of
Yeah.
jet planes flying over and machine guns and chaos. That's what he was trying to do and he changed the way that Star Spangled Banner will be for the rest of life, for the rest of time. What's more famous than Hendrix playing that song?
And it
I don't
really
think there's-
sums up,
you
right?
know.
It sums up like the Vietnam era, and all that stuff. We
He was
got,
an artist, man.
yeah.
He really was.
I feel like we got to play something else off of here. What else did he play on here?
Come on, ladies, I'm in my brain. Later things don't seem the same. I'm acting funny, but I don't know why. Excuse me while I kiss this guy.
Man, that's another artist out of this. Go watch the video of it, because he is just
yeah.
he is possessed playing the guitar. It's awesome.
He was another one. There's that story that he had that headband on his head, and he had like a sheet of acid underneath his headband, so he was sweating the acid into his pores. Like I don't know.
I don't.
think
Yeah, I
it's a
don't
cool
know that story.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Huh.
And the headband. There was
I
like a
wouldn't be
sheet of acid.
surprised.
Yeah, but like you said, it's a shame that there was no one there to sing Hendrix guitar solo on the Star Spangled Banner.
But another dude too, right? So at Monterey, he lights a guitar on fire,
Yes,
and then in this, he does the Star Spangled Banner, and then shortly after, he's gone. He dies.
yeah,
It's just another. Between him and Janis, it's like two people that were just ripped off. Yeah, how much awesome fucking music did we lose because they died so early?
I don't know, man. But sometimes it's like maybe they faded away fast, so they didn't fade away slow.
It could be, but it's also like the legend of them is also captured by these performances in these two concerts.
Yeah,
It's like would they be as popular?
Thank God we have them on.
Sure.
We can always look at Jimmy at his prime.
Sure.
Those two shows are like the prime of Jimi Hendrix.
Right. Both of them died early, and there's there's just not a lot of material. And we heard these two amazing shows out of both of them.
Yeah, if you never heard our Monterey Pop Festive episode, you should go back and listen to that one.
Yeah, man.
We do a lot. That was a great episode.
Yeah, we did a good job on that. We do a good job on every episode, but
Because we're good at what we do.
yeah,
damn
we
it.
are.
Because it's the love. It's the little things we do.
Yeah, man. So I got a little bit on the bands who didn't play. We did some Monterey episode as well, like bands who could have been at Woodstock and weren't. So the Beatles, apparently the Beatles said they would play if the Plastic Ono Band could play, and the promoters were like,
that.
no thanks. So they were out. The Birds bailed out because they said, this is just another music festival. We're not interested. Chicago, I talked about. The Doors, kind of like the Birds. They were like, no, this is just another music festival. This is another Monterey.
I thought the Doors weren't invited because Jimmy was such a fucking wackadoo.
I thought that was Monterey, but it could be. Iron Butterfly was supposed to come, but they got stuck at the fucking airport and they never made it.
Bummer.
Zeppelin just said no.
Yeah.
Joni
Can you
Mitchell.
imagine that? Zeppelin at
Right,
fucking
Joe,
Woodstock?
that would have been amazing.
They would have blown everybody out of the way,
Yeah.
dude. Especially that time, they were brand new.
Yep. Joni Mitchell, she turned down a thing so she could go on the Dick Cavett show. The Stones said no thanks, and Zappa said no thanks. So
Zappa would have been awesome.
Zappa would have been great, man. He's another person
Zappa
we haven't
would've-
spoken about yet.
He would have fit right in at Woodstock with the Freaks. Mm-hmm. Maybe he thought they were. He was so outspoken. Maybe he thought they were exploiting the culture.
Yeah. I never got into Zappa. He's another one I never tried.
There's different faces of Zappa, like different faces of Miles Davis. You have to find the one album to start with. It's like a puzzle. It's like you just can't listen to Zappa. You have to listen to one of his certain albums first to get it.
Yeah, it's almost like I don't dislike him. I've never tried, and I know that's a really long buffet that I have to pick from to try to start. I haven't cared to give it a shot. Maybe at some point in my life I will.
I'll send you something.
All right. Yeah, I'm open minded. I'm be happy to I have plenty of artists that I didn't like before that I've grown into. So, actually, I think that's largely Woodstock. I'm looking through my notes real quick. The movie has a note from the police chief saying that the kids are all really well behaved, and the people making the movie are like, "Oh, well, you're a cop saying that." And he's like, "I'm not a cop. I'm the police chief."
Yeah, really.
Yeah. People largely behaved. The sequels, I don't think we're going to get into it
No,
too
it's not
much. We've
even-
been talking for 2 hours, but
They were
have
nowhere near being cool as the original. We could just say that.
Yeah, there's been a series of them, 79, 89, 94, and 99. There was supposed to be the one in 2019 that kind of crapped out. So
If you go to the original site of Woodstock, there is a venue there in Bethel. I've been there a few times. So you can go up to the land of Woodstock and have Woodstock any weekend you want. Like, you don't have to go during the anniversary. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. You can go see one of your favorite bands at the venue. It is cool. I'm surprised you didn't take the kids yet, Bruce.
yeah, we drove past it. We never stopped though.
Maybe next summer I'll make all you guys go.
Yeah, it'll be
We'll
on the
see
list.
something there. Because the anniversary is this week. We're recording it. It's this week.
Yeah,
The anniversary of it. And
Yep.
Phil Lesh is playing there this weekend.
I saw that.
Yeah, for the anniversary.
Yeah, it's cool.
Phil Lesh from the Grateful Dead.
Yes. All right, I got some music news. The first music news was Lamont Dozier. He's 1/3 of the Holland, Dozier and Holland from Motown. He died at age 81. We didn't talk about them a lot in our episode about the Funk Brothers, but man, they wrote and produced
Billions
almost
of songs.
all those songs, man. The Motown sound, they came out of that. So the one gentleman, he passed away. Really sad. And the next music news that I had was, so Matt Stone and Trey Parker from South Park,
Right on.
they celebrated the 25th anniversary of the show of South Park, and they did 2 concerts at Red Rocks in California.
Is that what was going on? dude?
Yeah.
Okay. I saw a big thing going on with South Park online.
Yeah,
That's cool.
So they kind of had, like Les Claypool came out and he played
Very
the
cool.
theme song in the outfit that he wears in the cartoon.
Nice.
And Ween showed up, and the 2 guys, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, they played a lot of the songs from the show, like in the characters.
Yeah,
that they
that's
played.
great.
But the coolest thing was they did an episode where they had the guys from Rush perform,
Yeah,
like
sure.
that,
Uh-huh.
and they played a clip of Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, and then they came out and they played a Rush song with Les Claypool and Matt Stone on drums. I'll put- They play Closer to the Heart.
Who's singing?
Geddy Lee. But Les Claypool's playing with them too.
So Geddy Lee's there live. So Rush showed up.
Yeah, they're there.
It looks great.
Yeah,
though.
I'll splice it.
It looks definitely fun. I seen all these different people at the show. I didn't realize it was a concert with all these cutouts of different characters and shit. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was really cool to see Geddy Lee and Les Claypool like jamming together.
Right.
Yeah, it was just really, really neat, and it was cool to see.
It's-
I don't know what Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson have played together since.
They're supposed to play that.
Oh yeah, the Taylor Hawkins
concert.
thing. Yeah. So, yeah, I just thought it was really cool, and they got a little tongue in cheek about it. So,
Well, that's what South Park is about. You can't laugh at yourself, then fuck you. You
Yeah.
know, like
all right, man. So, second thoughts. We got some feedback on our drummer episode. So, our buddies over at the Itch Rock Radio podcast shared a link to an album called The Drum Battle, Gene Krupa and Buddy Rich at the JATP. So, we talked a little bit about Buddy Rich doing some drum battle stuff. And then Anthony on Twitter, he's at Monkey Noodles. He shared a link to an album called Krupa and Rich, and he said, I just downloaded your episode. I can't wait to hear this. Krupa and Rich are 2 of my all-time favorite drummers. They're a big reason for my love of big band jazz music and getting into playing the drums as well. So,
Very cool.
Right on, man. Hope you listened. Would love to hear what you think of the episode. And then I have some second thoughts. So I went down the rabbit hole, man, and read a little bit more about the Dave Matthews Poopgate incident that you
crapper?
mentioned. Yes, that you mentioned.
crapper cake.
Because I was like, I
can't believe you don't know about this.
So, what's funny, man? You mentioned it, and then I was looking on Facebook one night. I'm laying in bed, and I follow a Facebook account called The Troller Coaster, and they just post memes and funny pictures. And they shared a screenshot of the Wikipedia page called The Dave Matthews Band Toilet Incident. And they're like, if you don't know, now you know. And I was like, holy shit, I was just talking about
We were just talking about that.
So I read more about it, and I was like, all right, so I've told like 20 people this story this week. I'm like, do you know this story?
Yeah.
I was like, I've learned a lot of cool stuff about doing the show, and this was one of the weirder ones. So it was 2004. The Dave Matthews Band, I guess they all had their own tour bus. Each guy had their own bus. And Boyd Tinsley, the violin player, his bus was going over the Kinsey Street Bridge in Chicago. So, and there was a sightseeing boat going underneath the bridge on the river. Yeah, so you said like they dumped it in the lake. It's a little grosser than that. So they were on the bridge. The bridge had like one of those, like the gate. The bottoms was like a grate, right? So you can like see through it. And for some fucking reason, the bus driver decided we're going to empty the sewer tank. We're just going to dump it over this bridge in the Chicago River.
Wow.
And it was a sightseeing boat going underneath it. And 800 pounds of Dave Matthews Band shit and piss landed on these people. It was like one of those, like, like a boat. You sit on the deck and you. So they said it hit a pregnant woman, elderly, a guy with disabilities, a child, and an infant. It went in their eyes and their mouths. The passengers started vomiting. 5 of them went to the hospital. So what had happened, and then the bus just took off. So everyone's like, "Who was that?
What just happened?"
Right. So somebody took a picture of it and reported it to the police, and then the police didn't know. Like they tried to track it down. They wound up pulling security camera footage from like a gym that was across the street to try to find out who the bus was. The mayor of Chicago held a press conference, and he showed the footage of the tour bus. Does anybody know who this was? So ultimately, they traced it back to the Dave Matthews Band. The driver got 150 hours of community service. He got probation. He got fired. He got fined like $10,000. And the band paid like $300,000 in settlements. And they agreed to keep a log anytime they ever dumped a crap tank of their tour bus. I mean, dude, so I camp a lot. I have a camper. You never, ever just pull the tank on your toilet. Like...
They have special things for. They have like special like cleanup.
Like tank. Right. You have a tank. You have a place you put all that stuff. You don't just dump it in the river when there's.
That gives a whole new meaning to Dave Matthews Band crap.
You have to listen to the music, and then you literally got shit on by Dave Matthews. Dude, it's awesome that you even mentioned that story.
I don't know how you do not know about. We find.
I had never heard that. I had never heard. I said it when the mayor held a fucking press conference. I've never heard that story.
Mayor McCheese.
Amazing. Oh man! All right, so the electric chair. The electric chair is we kill. I had something, but you had a better one. So the electric chair is when we kill something for being absolutely terrible, and you said. In honor of it being Woodstock that we should send a Joe Baez song to the electric chair.
Oh, dude, I respect her, but her voice just kills me, bro. Too much.
I'm just gonna play Diamonds and Rust because it's the most played song on Spotify. She does absolutely nothing to me for me. I don't.
So boring. This has got to be a newer song by her.
It's from like early 70s.
She reminds me of the Virgin Mary. If the Virgin Mary could sing, it'd sound like.
You're gonna send the Virgin Mary to the electric chair?
No, Jim. Yeah, I hear you. What I just said there, but yeah. Come on, this is like crap. Bob Dylan. That used to be Bob Dylan's girl. Was Joan Baez?
Yeah, dude. When you said you want to do this, I looked up. She dated Dylan and she dated Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, excuse me. Jobs is from the Bible.
Said that.
Right.
I saw a thing of her on YouTube, which I thought was cool. Is her backstage with what's that chick's name? That's one of these singer girls. Taylor Swift. That's who it was. And she's standing there with her grandchildren and say, "Yep, grandma's still cool, huh?" And there's Taylor Swift standing next to her, and Taylor Swift probably has no fucking idea who she is.
I don't hate on Joan Baez. You just like
she's
her more
a drag, dude. I'm so against drag songs, bro.
It's I don't know, man. I don't listen to a lot of folk music. I think it's
I like not too much of folk. I like Dylan, and I like Peter, Paul, Mary, Puff the Magic Dragon.
Yeah,
but when it comes to real Joan Baez folk music, I can't do it, bro. I'm sorry.
I would protest music. I would take more Rage Against the Machine than this, but
That would be a great show. I'm telling
yeah.
you.
All right, let's do it. All right, let's kill this. I'm gonna fucking.
Do it.
We sentence you to death.
Ugh.
Very cool.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Joan.
Yeah, man. I don't like Joni Mitchell. I don't.
Any of the Jones.
I'm not a big Dylan fan, but you know.
You're crazy.
I know.
I just think you're out of your mind because you don't understand Dylan.
Well, I'm just
You
saying.
never went to see him with me.
I'm just saying.
That's the thing. You never seen him with me.
Yeah, and I never will. I never will at this point.
I'm gonna make you go.
We were at the same show when we saw him.
Yeah, but I wasn't sitting with you.
Right, you were with the poor people, and I was in a suite, and I was like, even the free
And then I got
food and free
backstage.
beer, I was like, I'm not going. You know, of course you got backstage. You get Motley Crue and you know.
Dude, I was somewhere at the Fish concert, and somebody picked me out of all these people and said, "You're one of those McCusker guys." I'm like, "How do I even get picked out of 40,000 people?" And somebody's like, "Hey, you're one of the McCuskers." I wanted to run and hide for, protection program.
And yet here you are with me. So it's not
Hey,
all
man,
it's not all roses,
listen,
you know.
No, listen, I do this because I love you, Bruce. We've been friends a long time. 5 people listen, 5,000 people listen. We're going to keep on rocking.
Hey man, this is our 46th episode, so we're still going strong, man. We've got a limitless number of topics, so
And we're going to be here for at least another couple years.
yeah, man. We got some cool stuff coming up, man. We got we got some stuff coming up with Pantheon and some other artists and some concert stuff we're going to be associated with. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say yet due to our shit with Pantheon, but that's a wrap on episode 46.
Woodstock, baby.
Yeah, man. If you want more Woodstock 1969, most of the artists who played on the original, they've released albums of the performances. There's a 38 CD box set called Woodstock Back to the Garden. Woodstock Back to the Garden.
You can go to HBO. The original version of Woodstock is on HBO right now.
Yeah, man. The director's cut is on there. That's what I watched, and a little bit extra footage. And you can.
If you want to find out more of the Woodstock history, there's also Woodstock 99 on there, which was a shit show, and I was there. If you really want to see what peace love turned into in 99, Woodstock, watch Woodstock 99. It will blow your mind.
Yeah, when commercialism gets a hold of it. And if you want more Prisoners of Rock and Roll, you can follow us on your favorite podcast platform or tell somebody about us. You can also visit our website at prisonersofrockandroll.com. You can follow us on social media. There are links to all that stuff in our email in the show notes, too. We actually have a new email address. You can just email us at show@prisonersofrockandroll.com. We upgraded from the Gmail account. That still works, but we're still onward and upward. And I think that's about it, man. We're going to circle up, figure out what we're going to talk about next, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. Thanks so much for sticking with us.
Keep on rocking. Peace out.
I'm just a prisoner.